we'll move on to another sort of sticky subject that we've been bubbling for as long as I can remember, and that's Rangers' relationship with the Scottish media. Now, BBC are banned, as we know, for some horrific editing of videos back in the day, and that's kind of continued throughout the times. The most recent one is we've kind of had a falling out with Clyde One over comments that Roger Hannah made about the tackle by Kemar Roofe. Now, Wilf, again, we don't want to spend time talking about this so close to a big game on Saturday, but I mean, is this the worst you've seen in the media relations with Ibrox, with Rangers and the Scottish media?
Yes, it is. But I mean, first of all, I need to correct you. The BBC aren't banned from Ibrox. Chris McLaughlin has had his media credentials withdrawn because of the lies he was continually telling, and then the BBC chose to support their man and just not come to Ibrox.
Yeah, of course. I apologise for that.
Which is ridiculous because they're the national broadcaster, and the only reason I watch the BBC, the only reason I watch telly is to hear about Rangers, and I can't get it from the national broadcaster. It's absolutely crazy. But I mean, the wider point of the media, the whole media, the pander so much to Celtic, so by definition against Rangers, it's not real. I mean, it happened a lot in David Murray's watch because he seemed to basically be of the opinion that you can kick the club as hard as you want, kick the support as hard as you want, but don't slag me off. David Murray didn't say anything unless it was personally aimed at him. And then when we had our financial problems 9 or 10 years ago, Celtic grasped on it and they put all the media into their pocket. So yeah, I mean, it's never been as bad for me. It's never been as bad with the media as it is now, and it's going to take a hell of a lot of bridge building to get back, and it's going to take an awful lot of years to get back. Even, normally the team that's at the top of the tree gets the best press. That isn't going to happen because we've had it against us for so long. They're not just suddenly going to turn around on it.
Wilf's bang on there. I think it's as bad in my lifetime watching Rangers. I think David Graham, the communications, is trying to jump on things as quickly as they're being said. So there's a lot going on, I think, behind the scenes. But as Wilf says, it's a slow burner, this one. You're not going to, 2021. It's going to be a continual chipping away at it. The BBC down south must be like scratching their head at this. You've got Rangers and Stevie Gerrard on the cusp of a title, and they, BBC Scotland nowhere near it. So the big bosses down south and the BBC can't be impressed with the situation. That's nearly 9 years that's been going on. Crazy.
I agree with you. It's not going to get any better anytime soon, and I think it's been magnified this season because the 10 in a row thing. I think that's made it worse, in my opinion. It just seems to be everything has been talked about Celtic, magnified, 10 in a row. Now it's kind of slip knot for them. The media aren't giving us any praise. It seems to be the total opposite. But the media have never been Rangers friendly. But the last 10 years since administration and stuff like that, it's got worse. But I think Scotland in general has got worse. There's been probably more fans for the clubs hate us now than ever done. Used to be never used to be like that. Used to be getting yourself to maybe Aberdeen and stuff. But fans for every club detest us more than they've ever done. I don't know if it's a social media thing, just everything in general. Digital age, I don't know, but people detest us more now than they've ever done. I don't understand it myself. I just can't understand it.
Yes, I think that's a great point. That's bang on. It just seems to be the fashionable thing to do, is to not like Rangers. I mean, it used to be you get a lot of guys that were supported different clubs, but they didn't have a problem with Rangers. But now everybody seems to have a problem with Rangers, unless you're a Rangers fan. My girlfriend's a Hearts fan, and I've been at a few Hearts games with her, and it's absolutely ridiculous. We're not even involved in the game that I'm at, and all they're talking about is Rangers and Rangers this and Rangers that, and it's ridiculous. I've been at Highwood League games with young kids. All they're doing for 90 minutes is slagging off Rangers. And it's for Martin United against somebody else. It's mental. It's a society thing. It defies belief. It really does. And there's no apparent reason for it other than, well, I would say it was jealousy, but how can they be jealous of the last eight or 9 years that we've had?
Yeah. Scott, Cammy, do you think it's a culture thing? Like, I don't want to go down the politics route, but it's a culture thing. You know, for me, I think that's the way country's going, and Rangers fans are just feeling the brunt of that. What do you think about
that? I think Scott nailed it with regard to the digital age, social media, all that sort of situation. It's just everything's magnified, but I've never known anything like it. The hatred, and I think the fact that we're on the brink of getting back that league title, I think that's magnifying it even more. The hatred, you know. I think they all thought they had killed us off, and the fact that we're so close and we're going to party like it's 1999 in a number of weeks. That's going to the hatred by the end of the season will probably be even greater.
Well, yeah, you're giving me goosebumps talking there, actually, Cammy. But this is always about Rangers for me. I don't care about anyone else, and I've always been that way. And I might be the only guy in my bus that talks like that. I don't care if it's Celtic or Aberdeen above us. That's who I hate, because they're above us, and that's the be-all and end-all for me. I don't see that the other way about. As Wolf rightly said, we've been third division. We've been struggling for 10 years nearly, and they still hate us. I just don't understand it. Now, I don't think we're ever going to build the relationships back with other clubs. And to be honest with you, I don't care. I think the media side of it has to be fixed. Now, Scott, the Rangers media staff are doing some great things for me. I think it's heavily improved, especially on the social media side. We're very quick to react, as Wolf's touched on. You see us almost having to play a part in building this relationship with the media, because the outside media don't seem interested.
To be honest, they don't know. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of Rangers fans, you probably get fans for other clubs, maybe not in Scotland, but down south, listening to some Rangers pods and quite enjoy it because of the Steven Gerrard thing. So I think having the fans pods and like David Graham and Scott touched on doing a really good job, and Rangers themselves do a lot of good stuff as well. So I think maybe it's a Scotland thing. Maybe they like us up here, but I think in the UK and further afield, we are well liked and we're well supported. It's just for some reason in Scotland. But as for the podcast with the fans, it's superb because there's fans all over the world listening to that, Rangers fans. You know that a mate stays in Canada and he listens to the podcast back there because he's not here anymore. And it gives him a wee bit of touch of the lineage and a bit of banter and stuff like that because they get that over there. And it's great fun. So even though the media up here don't like us, if we continue to do things like that, Rangers continue to do things like that, you get Sky media, you get German media all talking about it. So to be honest with you, do we really need the Scottish media?
Well, for you have the same mind. I mean, you do, in Scott's spot on, you do leave this country and people say nice things about us, and we'll come on to another subject later, how we've kind of made that better the last week or so. But the perception outside the world is we're doing this big build-up to back to where we belong, and every bit of media articles I read is good. You've got fan media that's involved in games now. You've got loads of podcasts out there. Do you see us just running it ourselves now and just looking in the way instead of waiting for the BBC and Clyde One, etc., to get their act together?
Yeah, I can see if we can go on a concerted run and start picking up where we left off and all start to turn and sour and win a few titles and a few cups and keep having decent runs in Europe. I can see the Scottish media clambering over themselves to try and get back into their good books, and it's just not going to work because the fans are so alien to the media now. I mean, I don't know a Rangers fan that religiously buys a paper every day. I mean, I spent 20 years of my life buying a paper every single day in life, and for the last 15 years I've not bothered because I don't need to, and that's coincided with the advent of the internet and social media and stuff, because you can get all your information from there. Anything I want to hear about Rangers, I get it from Rangers podcasts, and yes, there's lots of them out there. Some are good, some are bad, but it's where you can get your information. It's people, like-minded people talking about you, and I mean the whole fact that Scott said about fans outside of Scotland, being interested in Rangers. I go to England when we're allowed to travel. I go to England quite frequently to watch rugby league, and the guys I know down there, they're always talking to me about Rangers, and I've had to educate a few of them. why has this happened to Rangers? Why did that happen to Rangers? What was it like? And they can't believe the way we've been treated. You know, because they know that Rangers are one of the biggest two clubs in the country, well, the biggest club in the country, but one of two big clubs in the country. And they couldn't believe the way we've been treated and the media that we get. And this is guys that even aren't necessarily football fans, some of them, you know. And yeah, I mean, the Scottish media are going to regret the way they've been with us recently in the last few years, because the printed paper is dying, and it's dying because the biggest support in the country aren't going anywhere near it, and it's not going to get any better for them anytime soon.
See, the thing with regard to the Scottish media, there are some good guys in amongst it. Scott McDermott, Andy Devlin. There was something happened the other day. Andy Devlin wrote a piece. There was a headline that was challenged, but Andy Devlin wouldn't have had anything to do with the headline. But Rangers then jumped on top of that, you know, because the headline was questionable.
Cammy, I was going to bring that up, right? So Andy Devlin for me is one of the better ones out there, and he has wrote very favourably for Rangers in the past, and he's always seems to be first with the scoops. No problem with Andy Devlin and the way he writes for the Scottish Sun. That headline for me was despicable, right? And I'm not at one to take offence to things. I've literally been called every name under the sun for whoever, my own wife sometimes, but I never get offended, right? But that for me was a step too far, and it would not have happened on the other side with the connotations. And for Andy Devlin to put his name to that, because he would see it before it goes out, and I was very disappointed and very shocked, to be honest. So I'll come back to you, Cammy, sorry, because I kind of stopped you in mid-flow. Is that just a sign of what people think they can get away with? Now, Rangers have upped their game and challenged, and I was so pleased to see them right on that. But is it just a systematic of what people have been getting away with and kicking us when we're down?
100%. It's, you know, a lot of what's happening now for me in the media, Wilf touched on it earlier, David Murray did not care. And you're 20 odd years on, that's what you're suffering for now, is the sort of, it's Rangers, you can say whatever you want, that sort of attitude, you know, and that, it's like the SFA, it's not going to be a quick fix, but Rangers jumping on these things as soon as they happen over a period of time, hopefully it starts to make them think twice when they're putting questionable headlines or incorrect reports, whatever it may be.
See, I actually feel a bit for guys like Andy Devlin and Scott McDermott. If they put a story in and some anonymous sub-editors put on a headline like the one that was in the Scottish Sun the other day, you know, I'm not convinced that the guy that writes the story sees the headline before it goes to print. He maybe does. I don't know. I don't know how the process works.
I'd be shocked if he didn't get sent it. Yeah, I'd be shocked if he didn't get sent it. Well,
but the headline's written by some anonymous nobody. It's not the guy whose name's on the story.
Yeah.
You know, and if it does slip through the net or get published, however it gets into the thing, whether he knows about it or not, you know, it's the only thing people see is the name of the guy that wrote it.
Yeah, I get that. But well, does that not highlight a bigger problem then with the editors? It has to go through an editor.
Absolutely,
a sub-editor, an editor that signs these.
Yep.
There's three fall safes here for me. There's 3 safety valves to go through before that hits the press in the morning or the night time. So for me, Wilf, that highlights a bigger problem.
Buck stops with the editor. You know what I mean? Because ultimately, whoever has seen it or hasn't seen it, the editor's got to say, yeah, I'm okay with that. Now, the editor of the Scottish Sun, or the sports editor, or whoever it was, must have known that was out of order. You know what I mean? Whatever way they try to peddle that, they must have known that was out of order. Mm-hmm. But all he's interested in is getting clicks and getting publicity because of it. And that's the way the press is turning, because they're so desperate to sell copy. But like you said, Eric, it wouldn't happen to the other side of the city because they wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah.
You can get banter, man, right? You can get banter off other fans, but to put a paper out like that headline, and it was even a laugh. It was just vile, and it was straight to they made it straight to the point. Knew that they were getting that straight away. Didn't even have to think about it. Knew what they were doing straight away. So don't people saying, it's maybe a mistake. Never a mistake. They knew what they were getting at, and they knew who they were getting at, and that was it. End of story.
See, I'll get a bit passionate talking about this, but for me, there's people out there earning a living off of stoking which is already a powder keg of the west of Scotland, and it can't continue because it's just going to take one idiot to react to that, and then we've got a bigger story in our hands. And unfortunately, there is idiots in the west of Scotland that won't just come to social media and talk about. There's somebody that will actually take action, and these people have got a social responsibility in what they print, and for me, they're just totally disregarding their social responsibility in Scotland, and which is already a tempered situation, shall we call it.